My entire life, I've always been the fat, out-of-shape kid who sat behind on the bleachers while everyone else ran the mile in gym class. I was never happy with the way I looked, and I was always bouncing between fad diets. It wasn't that I lacked the willpower to get in shape, it was that I lacked the education. With how I've changed my weight and body through the years, I think it's pretty clear I know a thing or two about getting shredded. We want that chiseled, jaw-dropping, anime villain, top 1% aesthetic and V-tapered physique. In order to attain that, especially in a time crunch, things aren't going to be as simple as just dieting. The advice I'm going to give you in this video is going to be backed by my extremely extensive personal experience and scientific literature. So in this video, I'm going to teach you guys exactly how to get shredded before summer. Now put your chips down, fatters. We're here to get built like anime villains. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably a lot like me. You've either been putting in a good amount of effort trying to improve your physique, or you're about to start. Either way, the fact of the matter is, with summer right around the corner, we're on a bit of a time crunch here. So the protocols I'm going to give you in this video are going to teach you how to get shredded fast and efficiently. This isn't exactly for people trying to get long-term weight loss results. So at the end of the day, what you're really trying to do here is improve your body composition. Your body composition really comes down to two components. The first component is your lean body mass. This is comprised of your bones, body water, muscle mass, and a few other things, but in this video, we're going to mainly focus on muscle mass. The second component is the amount of fat on your body. So at the end of the day, when it comes to getting shredded as quickly as possible, you're not going to be really looking to increase your muscle mass. Your primary objective here is to maintain it. To make this a little easier to understand, I'm going to break down building muscle into a bit of a formula. Stimulus plus nutrition plus recovery equals muscle growth. The most efficient way to build muscle is going to be a caloric surplus. This is because it's pretty hard for your body to build new tissue. To put it simply, your body doesn't really want to build muscle unless it has to, and of course is able to. When it comes to losing fat, calorie deficit is king. This is thanks to thermodynamics. It can be easier to think of food as raw energy. In science, we know that mass can be converted to energy, and energy can be converted to mass. So at the end of the day, if the energy you use is higher than the energy you take in, your mass will decrease. This is going to allow us to lose weight. I completely support the idea that you can eat pretty much whatever you want, and as long as your calories and macros are in check and you're making progress towards your goals, it really does not matter. That is, if you don't want to be a father. Now, what I just said about food choice still holds true, but if you want to live long, learn how to cook and make it yourself using healthy, for this video, ideally low-calorie ingredients. That way you're not eating one meal a day. Prioritize single ingredient, common sense, conventionally healthy foods. These are often going to be the most filling. Additionally, foods that are high in protein are often going to be more filling as well because they take more work in order for your body to digest. For example, I was clearly a big chicken nugget eater. Since I've gotten into fitness, and especially since I'm turning it into a career, McDonald's chicken nuggets aren't exactly a great choice. Replacing them in my diet, and now honestly a staple food choice of mine, are these cauliflower chicken nuggets, which I cook in the air fryer because I'm smart. They're far healthier than other brands and pretty much the lowest calorie chicken nugget I could find. Aside from diet, the calories in, calories out equation is two-sided. This means we don't just have to rely on diet in order to put ourselves in a deficit. You can always just move more or burn more calories in order to increase your deficit. My cardio of choice is incline walking, and this is the one that I would recommend, and from my experience, I found it to be the most efficient. This is because you can get the highest intensity, it's easiest to recover from, and it's the most time-efficient way to burn the most calories. Now, since we're already low on calories, we generally want to avoid high-intensity interval training and utilize low-intensity steady-state cardio. This is because our body is already going to have a hard time recovering as it is, and we don't want to make that even harder by tearing our joints and muscles down on top of the resistance training we're already doing. Basically, with low-intensity steady-state, you can burn a lot of calories a lot easier and recover a lot easier because the intensity is low. If you actually plan on making it in time for summer, I would highly recommend adding cardio. You'll also live longer. However, we don't just want to lose weight here. We want to get shredded and have an aesthetic, good-looking physique. Basically, if you focus too hard on just losing weight, you're not going to end up with the look you want. I've made this mistake in the past myself. We've got 3 countermeasures at our disposal to prevent our body from using up muscle tissue while we're losing weight. These countermeasures are not having our calories too low, consuming adequate protein, and stimulus. As far as calories go, as a man, pretty much no matter what, you should never be going below 1500 to 1800 calories. You can do the math yourself and figure out a rough estimate of how many calories your body uses per day. There's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat tissue. Generally, the maximum amount of weight you should lose per week is 2 to 3 pounds a week. Now in this video, again, since we're on a time crunch, I'm gonna make the assumption that you're gonna be a lot closer to this 2 to 3 pound mark. So for example, if you wanna lose 2 pounds a week, you take 3,500 calories, multiply it by 2 pounds, and then divide it by 7. Now you have 1,000 calories as your daily deficit. So you would take your maintenance calories and subtract 1,000 from it. With the power of mathematics, we figured out exactly how many calories we need to eat a day in order to lose 2 pounds per week. God bless algebra. Next, we have protein. Now, when you lower your calories, protein becomes even more important. Your goal for protein intake should be at least 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now, to understand why protein is so much more important while you're cutting, let's go back to our formula for gaining muscle mass. Now, let's take this literally here. This formula is for gaining muscle mass. These are the signals that you give your body when you want to gain muscle tissue. The act of eating high calories actually is a component in signaling to your body to build new muscle tissue. In other words, being in a caloric surplus is somewhat muscle sparing in itself. Now obviously, if you're eating jars of peanut butter and Twinkies all day and not incorporating the stimulus aspect of the equation, you're not going to put on muscle, you're going to put on fat. But unless you have a high amount of muscle mass already, or in other words, you're an advanced or intermediate lifter, if you were to hypothetically exclude stimulus, it's going to be pretty safe to say that you're not going to lose very much muscle. When you get rid of that component and move to maintenance, suddenly it becomes a lot harder for your body to build new tissue. And then when you go even further and do what we're doing here, put yourself in a caloric deficit, all of a sudden your effort in the other two areas is going to be converted from building muscle to just maintaining it. And even then, you may lose some. Now, it's important to note here that really the calories themselves are what's anabolic. It's the act of being in a caloric surplus here, right? Now, when it comes to nutrition, obviously you do need protein in order to build muscle. But what I'm saying here is when your calories are high and you're getting that signaling, you just don't need as much protein. So when you drop those calories, in order to compensate for that lost component, you need to increase your protein intake. As far as stimulus goes, or training, you should be training pretty much the exact same way year-round, whether you're in a caloric surplus or in a caloric deficit. You should be applying the principles of progressive overload and aiming to increase your strength every workout. However, as you gain experience, you're most likely going to find that when you decrease your calories, it's going to be far harder to follow through with these principles and actually increase your performance in the gym. This is thanks to the fact that we're desperately fighting against our body's urge to get rid of our muscle mass. Muscle mass is active contractile tissue. In other words, it burns calories. Our body doesn't want us to starve to death and wants to put us into homeostasis. In other words, it's a win to just maintain our strength and muscle while we're cutting. If you're a beginner or haven't started applying resistance training to your routine, I would highly recommend doing push-pull legs. This is the routine I follow, and personally, I think it's the simplest, easiest to understand, and easiest to adhere to. So we now have our streamlined system to get shredded by summer. Eat low calorie. Eat high protein. Make sure you're resting. And of course, you should be training regularly or incorporating stimulus to prevent your muscle from being wasted.